Good afternoon, everyone. This is Monday, February 23rd. We are having a mayor and council retreat. This is going to be mostly a conversation and laying out the mayor and council's priorities for 26-27. I want to thank you all for making time to have this. I know that you all have busy schedules. Wanted to thank the city manager and the assistant city managers for helping us put it together. Lane Mandel, the chief of staff to the city manager, for helping us with the logistics, and of course our interim clerk, Yolanda Lozano, and the entire team for helping us. We also welcome our new city clerk. Clerk Stoller is with us today. I called her this morning just to let her know how cool to start the day having a conversation about priorities with the mayor and council and seeing us in a much more relaxed environment. So welcome. We're really happy to have you here. So it's not the first time that we have had mayor and council retreats. As a matter of fact, back in 2020 we had one. I believe we had another one in 22. But it is the first mayor and council retreat for our new council colleagues, Councilmember Barajas and Schubert. And I just want to extend a special thank you and welcome. This is an opportunity for us to have a really good conversation about priorities, to understand what we need of each other. And even though we all represent the entire city of Tucson and all of our residents, it's important to bring to the table the priorities that residents in each and every ward have. And so I am really happy about it. I'm gonna start out, but first we need to call us into session and then do roll call. So council will stand in session and let's go to roll call.
Councilmember Cunningham?
Here.
Councilmember Dahl?
Here.
Councilmember Lee?
Here.
Councilmember Barajas?
Here.
Councilmember Schubert?
Here.
Vice Mayor Santa Cruz?
Here.
And Mayor Romero.
Here. Mr. Attorney, do you have any announcements?
Just briefly, Your Honor, thank you. Just for clarity, so that, because I know we have new council members that have not been on one of these retreats before, we want to be careful. This is an opportunity for you to lay out your agenda, what you believe you are interested in doing over the next few years, and set your priorities. It's not we don't take legal action at this particular time, but that can be set on a later agenda.
So no official action.
Correct.
Alrighty. Anything else? Item 2.
Opening remarks by Mayor Romero.
Okay, Yolanda, if you insist. So, like I said before, today is an opportunity to share with each other our priorities, bring them to the table, work with each other. It's an opportunity also to think ahead, opportunity to think about our budget and our budget priorities. We are entering budgeting season, and so it's important that we center our priorities based on the immediate work ahead in terms of the budget. I want to mention a few successes because usually, you know, we hear when people need something, when they're in crisis, when they want to report something that's not working. But it's always good to tap into the amazing work that mayor and council have done and the successes that we've done as a team, as a mayor and council, but also as our city attorney and all of the city of Tucson workers. We passed our middle housing ordinance citywide. We agree that housing needs to be affordable for Tucsonans, and we did that. We passed our housing and homeless emergency. We opened just in January our Safer Center in partnership with Pima County with opioid settlement funds to provide treatment and recovery services that have been lacking. All of us have talked at one time or the other that recovery and treatment is better than incarceration and enforcement only tactics. We continue our Safe City initiative. We created and have been expanding the Safe City deployments that provide services and innovative ways to be able to offer alternatives to jail services. Also, accountability needs to go hand in hand with our Safe City deployments. Our city will be evolving. This is what I love about the city of Tucson, about my colleagues on the council, our city manager and his entire team, and our department directors. We really think creatively and innovatively. We're flexible, we learn, and then we continue moving forward. And that's something that I really appreciate in our team and all of us. What I wanted to talk about as well was affordable housing. We continued working on climate change, really offering a lot of investment and time into heat resiliency. For me, it's important that we continue this work, that we continue on all of the innovative policy priorities and the policies that we've passed in my time as mayor the last 6 years. We've been able to learn from those, from Housing First to our housing affordability strategy for Tucson, to the work that we're doing for working families, and the services that we provide. KidCo is a program that is near and dear to my heart, and I know that Councilmember Cunningham is also a fan of KidCo. We want to make sure that we not only continue it, but expand it and be creative with it. I think that retreats are a time to be creative, innovative, and I think they're productive because we largely can focus on what are the outcomes based on the priorities that we have. I want to take a moment to thank everyone watching this meeting over YouTube. That's important for all of us to be able to have witness and public participation through a live stream, and so I want to make sure that we thank them, whomever is watching. I hope we also remember that our work over the past few years has gotten us results. Putting our heat action roadmap into action, into work, we've tangibly seen less heat-related hospitalizations and deaths in our city. Our Community Safety and Response Center has led to better response times and better collaboration between first responders. Our Small Business Center opened. We have a place for small businesses in the city of Tucson to come together and use a space that's friendly to them. We've done a lot of work, but as always, we have a lot of work left to be done, and I think that's exactly why we're here today. I want you all to feel comfortable, and please share with all of us. So with that, we move on to item 3.
Priority setting remarks from each council member.
Thank you, Yolanda. We're going to start with Ward 6. We're going to start with the newbies. We're all very curious. Now not that we didn't hear what you were saying throughout the campaign, but we usually start with Ward 1. So we're going to start the other way around. We're going to start with Ward 6 and then 5, and then move down the lane and finish with Lane.
All right, thank you so
Councilmember
much.
Schubert.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Colleagues, as we enter this priority setting retreat, I want to begin with the grounding principle. Our goals must be bold, but they must also be achievable within our existing budget constraints. We do not have the luxury of unlimited new revenue, and I am painfully aware that the legislature is currently working to limit our options in the future. What we do have is the power to align our current spending, policies, and partnerships around a clear set of values: housing justice, climate responsibility, and affordability. If we're disciplined about aligning the dollars that we already spend with the outcomes we say we want, we can make measurable progress in 2026 and 2027 without overpromising or destabilizing our finances. Okay, so my top 3 priorities are: 1, protecting and expanding affordability, advancing housing justice through large-scale investment in permanently affordable and social housing, and that includes fare-free transit. Number 2, a just and fossil-free economy, accelerating Tucson's transition to a just fossil-free economy centered on good jobs, community ownership, safe mobility options for everyone. We want to focus on policies like middle housing that focus on infill instead of sprawl, and ensuring that we're protecting our water. So the large water user ordinance, it's important to me that it's not just a rubber stamp, but that it carefully asks questions as to whether a large water user is going to negatively affect our long-term viability. And then 3, reframing safety. I'm really interested in looking at how we can truly increase safety across our communities. It's not solely tied to the criminal legal system. So I see it as multi-layered, as investing in transportation safety, heat mitigation, social cohesion, mental and physical health, and investing in prevention, because that creates long-term safety that invests in community and prevents the development of criminal behaviors. Traffic accidents are the largest cause of preventable deaths. And these 3 things are not separate silos. They're mutually reinforcing. Housing stability reduces strain on emergency services, climate investments, lower long-term operating costs. But of course, we are facing a pretty stark reality. We face deep income inequality, housing affordability crisis, climate-driven water and heat risks, and overdue maintenance liability of transportation network. At the same time, we face structural budget pressures. We can't fund every good idea. So I see our charge this year as to not look to expand, but to prioritize, sequence, and leverage. And that means using city-owned assets strategically and aligning our capital planning with climate and equity goals. So then just a few areas of focus. Within current fiscal constraints, 2 priorities stand out. First, rapid decarbonization of municipal operations. Our climate resiliency plan, Tucson Resilient Together, has given us an excellent roadmap to kick these efforts off. So to me, that means accelerating building electrification, looking at rooftop solar on city facilities, and aggressive energy efficiency retrofits, especially in facilities serving low-income neighborhoods. And I know this is something Councilmember Dahl, I've definitely heard you talk about wanting to increase access to this type of resiliency in neighborhoods across the city. These investments reduce our long-term utility costs. So they are fiscally responsible. This isn't just about caring about the environment and being crunchy. This is about being practical. They also position us to capture future funding and utility incentives. And then the second thing is long-term water resilience. We must strengthen conservation, protect our groundwater, limit unsustainable development patterns, and expand green stormwater infrastructure that cools neighborhoods and recharges aquifers. It's so visionary that Mayor Romero and the City Council created the Green Stormwater Infrastructure Project, and I just want to see that across more of the city. Green infrastructure is more cost-effective over time. It reduces flooding, mitigates heat, and supports public health. And I just feel like I have way more notes than I'm going to have time for, so I'm going to just kind of try to skip through. Okay, under transportation and infrastructure, transportation is a climate, economic justice, community safety, and a public health issue. It's also a leading cause of preventable death for young people. The statistics are really clear on this. Within our budget reality, we should prioritize protecting and strengthening frequent and reliable public transit service with workforce stability at the center, and incrementally building a citywide network of protected bike lanes, shaded sidewalks, and traffic calming. Every neighborhood that we have connected with at Ward 6 wants traffic calming in their neighborhood. It's very popular because people see it as an effective way of increasing safety. Traffic calming with prioritizing corridors with the highest rates of traffic injuries and lowest vehicle access. Safer streets reduce crashes and emergency response costs. Reliable transit connects people to jobs. These are investments that produce downstream savings and economic mobility. We can't build everything at once, but we can focus our capital dollars on corridors that deliver the highest safety and equity returns first, which is why it's great that we had the motion from Vice Mayor Santa Cruz to see that map of where those investments should be. Under economy and workforce, we do not need a separate economic development strategy from our equity strategy. These things should be totally tied together. And I really like that the city of Tucson has made that a priority. Every city contract is an economic development tool. Within existing resources, we can expand prevailing wage and local hire requirements, tie more contracts to apprenticeship pipelines, and ensure enforcement mechanisms are strong so that the standards are meaningful. This doesn't require new spending necessarily. It requires clear policy direction and contract compliance. At the same time, we can redirect a portion of our existing small business and economic development funds toward cooperatives, community-owned enterprises, and businesses in historically disinvested neighborhoods. That builds local wealth and stabilizes communities. How am I doing on time?
I think all of us have 10 minutes apiece. You're doing, I don't know, are you timing?
3 minutes.
About 3 minutes.
Yeah,
And,
my spidey sense was going
and
off.
just for your information, we will also be asking the city manager to put from the questionnaires that you all received, synthesize
Okay.
it into a memo and a document that will help lead the conversation into the budget.
Okay, I have way more notes. I'm just gonna skip to the last part. Fiscal discipline with moral clarity. Okay, we should explore progressive revenue strategies where legally permissible, such as stronger impact fees or vacancy-related tools, and advocate at the state level for tax reform. But we should not build a budget around revenue we don't yet control. So for this year, our task is clear: align existing spending with housing stability, prioritize climate resilience that lowers long-term costs, use contracting power to strengthen worker standards, and focus capital dollars where they produce measurable equity and safety outcomes. If we're disciplined, we can move the needle in tangible ways without destabilizing our general fund. This retreat is about choices. We can't do everything, but we can do the most important things and do them well. If we center equity, climate responsibility, and people in how we allocate the dollars we already have, Tucson will be stronger, more resilient, and more just, not just in theory, but in practice. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Barajas.
Hello, Mayor and colleagues. Well, as we look ahead to 2026 and 2027, my priorities are grounded in equity, long-term sustainability, and neighborhood stability, especially for communities that have historically carried the weight of underinvestment. So first, I want to focus on environmental justice and climate resilience, that it must remain central to our work. Extreme heat, air quality, and water security are not abstract policy discussions. They are daily realities for many of our Ward 5 families. We must accelerate implementation of our climate action goals, continue to expand our tree canopy and cooling infrastructures, and work closely with Tucson Water to protect our aquifer and strengthen our conservation efforts, ensuring that our residents have clean and safe water. Climate resilience is both an environmental responsibility and a public health priority. Second, housing affordability and anti-displacement strategies are top of my priorities, requiring urgent attention. As Tucson grows, we must ensure that longtime residents, especially working families and seniors, can remain in the neighborhoods they help build. So that means increasing affordability, housing, options and supply through thoughtful infill development, strengthening tenant protections, and creating more conversations around estate planning. These are difficult conversations to have, but I feel like we have to address it. And this will help, create generational wealth so families can retain their homes and benefit from new developments and new investment rather than being pushed out. Third, we must deepen our investment in youth and civic re-engagement. Our young people need more clear pathways, innovative pathways into education, leadership, and meaningful employment. Through partnerships with both the districts that are here in Ward 5, and those are the districts I'm focusing on, TUSD and SUSD. I want to also expand on workforce training programs, so we could connect students to real opportunities, to clean energy, construction, healthcare, and emerging industries. When we invest in our youth, we strengthen the long-term future of our city and then hopefully get them engaged in voting and civic engagement. Infrastructure equity is also another key focus that I want to bring to the table. You know, Ward 5 neighborhoods deserve safe streets, functioning sidewalks, ADA accessibility, lighting, and road repairs that reflect the taxes residents pay and the pride they carry in their communities. So complete streets and safe routes to school improvements must be prioritized, especially in the high injury corridors and historically overlooked areas. Economic opportunity is also critical. Small businesses are the backbone of our Tucson's economy, particularly on the south side, and I would like to see us support the creation, hopefully work closely with our Vice Mayor, to just really build on a small business coalition that I know has been in route. So something that can continue to uplift our legacy businesses and builds clear pathways for commercial ownership. So more entrepreneurs can build equity and stability so they too won't be pushed out of these investments and future developments. Public safety must continue to evolve in a way that is balanced and community-centered. Prevention, diversion programs, crisis response partnerships, and well-designed public spaces, preserving our culture. I really want to bring to light cultural preservation, not necessarily calling it historic preservation, but cultural preservation, to continue to, contribute to our safer neighborhoods. Safety is strongest when community trust is strong. And finally, something that I want to also bring is just, thinking of strategies of how to manage future growth. So focusing on smart infill development, mixed use projects, mixed income projects. Those are stuff that I want to see, projects I want to see happen. And here in Ward 5, we want to continue to strengthen our neighborhood associations, as well as our partnerships with our nonprofits, with our stakeholders, with our leaders. And I am excited to really fill all of our board committees and commissions, making sure that we have a Ward 5 representative at each BCC, so residents have meaningful representation in decision-making here in this entire city. And Tucson's future depends on thoughtful planning, equitable investment, and staying rooted in the lived experiences of our communities. So my commitment is to ensure that Ward 5 and every neighborhood has a seat at the table and a share in our city's progress. Thank you.
Thank you, council member. Who's next?
Your Honor, I was wondering if I could go now, because I have to step out from 150.
Yes, absolutely, go ahead.
I gotta step out for 35 minutes. It's something I cannot avoid, you guys.
Go ahead, council member Cunningham.
So you guys kind of know what's coming. Let's start.
Tucson.
Let's start.
The tree, house,
Yes, let's start with think.
think.
Pat's gonna pass out white papers. So I'm gonna start with think. Think's an opportunity for us to have the first single-payer option for all children. Any kid attending public school could get it. It doesn't matter if you're CHIP eligible or not. There's a number of different pieces to doing it. It's gonna take a long time, probably after I'm off this council, but I want to plant the seeds now. This white paper kind of outlines the nitty-gritty on how to get there, but the idea is that we partner with one of our providers, whether it's TMC Carondelet or Banner, and then we partner with Pima County and Tucson Unified School District, Sunnyside, and 5. Any school district operating in the city limits can participate, but the idea would be that folks who are not eligible for the CHIP or Kids Care could buy in to the same healthcare plan that we provide for our employees, for their children, specifically their children. And ultimately, it could be, we would collaborate with local employers to help facilitate that. But the idea would be, again, rough numbers, and there's obviously work to continue, about $40 a check per kid, which is very comparable to the $70 it is for multiple children. per month with kids care. The other cool part about it is that this program would be for everybody. And it would be basically that single payer option. And I think it would be something that would help us. More importantly, it would result in some cost avoidance for the school districts, in that this would cover school nurses and school clinicians, athletic trainers, and social workers and counselors within. In other words, instead of having a school social worker hand over to you another network social worker, you'd have the same social worker, which is really, for anyone who's done that work, it's an incredible dynamic as far as having someone working each case. So that's the thing. Our next program that we're going to bring to that place is TREE. Pat also passed out that white paper. We're going to try to get that on the agenda. I know we're going to have a public power discussion. We're planning on having a public power discussion March 3rd. I don't want these two to be blended. I think one is completely separate from the other. TREE is set up so that actual neighbors own their own power, and we utilize and adapt to technology that's burgeoning now. And I think it's a really important piece. So those are the two programs that I want to bring forward over this next year very specifically. One is to establish TREE. It should be budget neutral, it shouldn't cost anything. And the other one is to basically push the pebble down the hill. I think the way to do that is to pass a concurrent resolution with Pima County and TUSD in which we bid out the management of our self-insurance together. And we don't need to do it right away, but when the time comes, we do that. And those are the two things that have to be in place before any of these big wide-eyed ideas can happen, is the nitty-gritty part. I also want to thank everybody for helping us pass House, and we're looking to expand and initiate that program and actually see it's bearing fruit, but it's a model in which we can transition people who are on the climb, coming out of detox and rehab, and into their own place that they rent, that's in their name, that they are empowered. And that's what House is all about. The next one is the KidCo CSP co-locations. One of the issues that we're having is we're leaving money on the table. We have people enrolled in KidCo who probably qualify for CSP and the subsidies.
What is CSP?
Community schools program, which is basically TUSD's after-school program. And a significant amount of students are subsidized by the state by participating in that program. And we have another group of people that don't qualify for CSP and end up paying like $100 a week. And then we have bits and pieces of KidCo paying like $35, $25 a week. Well, we probably need to have it where we want to have our cake and eat it too, all right? So the idea behind that is to co-locate a KidCo site and a CSP site. I think we should start with one, just to see if we can do it and kind of run off. There are two schools that seem to be really good candidates, according to Dr. Trujillo. One of them possibly Lineweaver, the other one is Kellen. And I think those are both schools, but both of those schools are well enrolled. This is actually supposed to help TUSD with its enrollment. So we'll see kind of how that comes. The other program that we're going to launch out of our office, we're going to do it kind of on a grassroots level with some public-private partnerships, but any ward office who wants to collaborate with me is invited to. I want to set up an $88 athletic and arts program. If you're a kid from 2nd grade to 5th grade and you want to be in a sport, or you want to learn an instrument, or you want to dance or do drama or any of that stuff for 9 weeks during the school year, twice a week, it should only cost $88. We don't need parents having to pay $125 just to play 3 weeks of baseball. That's ridiculous. So I want to make it so it's accessible for kids to kind of explore what's out there instead of being a couch spud or playing too many video games. And I know a whole bunch of parents who agree with me. So, but it shouldn't be a cost barrier. And by the way, obviously $88 could be a lot depending on your perspective. For some families, that's like nothing for what they're paying right now, but for other families, that can be a lot. We'd absolutely have a foundation to make scholarships available. The next part is my 7-shift program. This is a program where we can take social workers to courts and run it 7 shifts a week. That means you'd work 3 11 or 11 and a half hour shifts every week on the same days, and then every other Saturday you'd work. So that way we could be open 11 hours a day, 7 days a week. And think about what that means if we have social workers available to respond, especially in the field, 7 days a week. Or if the transition center was there, 7 days a week. If we could enroll people into network and detox 7 days a week. If we had alternative jail programs 7 days a week. And that means every day shift, every day, we'd have those services available. And we have to think about how we're gonna be accessible. Speaking of accessibility, our resources are limited. We wanna take a look at AI and how 311, 911, and possibly the Tucson water line can be used on an AI basis, where some of those low-hanging fruit calls can be facilitated through AI. I think it's actually a really cool opportunity. There are multiple networks that use AI for that specific piece, and if we got it, we could be one of the, a lot of cities are already doing it, but I think it's an opportunity to have some cost avoidance and also improve our efficiency and service delivery to our people. Next one I want to talk about is the economy and jobs. Look, to be honest with you, there's always these different signs about the economy slowing down, but we always want to find opportunities. I still think we're missing the boat on a regional air carrier. I want to take a look at making another run at SkyWest Airlines and have them run out of here, out of Tucson. I think it could be a winner. Also taking a look at Allegiant, who's beholden to Phoenix Mesa right now. But I'd like to add another 20 flights daily out of Tucson to TIA. I think it's a goal we should try to set, and we should try to do that as we work with the airport. They're not going to, there's some tricks to it. What I don't want to do is throw money at them. When we made the American Airlines deal a few years ago, the American Airlines just totally took advantage of the Tucson Airport Authority. We need to be a watchdog on them and make sure they're making good decisions. Also, when we think about jobs, I think about the IDA, our Rio Nuevo investment and empowerment zones and how we do that. There are certain sectors that we can probably expand, including aeronautics, optics, astronomy, and I think recycling and sustainability I think that is a program we can run here, including like some battery recycling, maybe partnering with Fairfax and seeing some of the newer things we can take advantage of, even using and selling off some of our methane and having it go into the natural gas system. I know that that's not perfectly environmentally friendly, but natural gas is better than coal. It's better than it's just as good as any RICE program, especially if it's coming from our landfills. We might as well use that gas somehow. Right now, we're just burning flares. I want to take a look at our long-term sustainability, finding those permanent funding sources that each of you talk about for each program. So there's kind of dials and wheels that we have always working to make sure those are coming. We want it to be like a tapestry or a fabric where our long-term sustainability is all together. I want to build some type of multimodal transit to Mosaic. I think Mosaic's going to be a big piece for Tucson, and while everybody knows my ire for non-incorporated areas in the county and stuff like that, I think Mosaic is a really big opportunity for Tucson if they're getting it right. But we've got to be able to tie that area to downtown. And remember, when we did the U of A in downtown, that's what the streetcar was for. The streetcar downtown in the U of A, it was too close to drive, too far to walk. That's why we built the streetcar. It's the same thing with Mosaic. It doesn't make sense to drive. You can't really, it's a little too far to bike, sorry, Lane. So maybe we kind of have a doodle bug, which is a type of train that can go on the 12-gauge track that's already existing there. And we can make that part of Tucson. I also want to talk about our water storage capacity. We'll probably have that conversation over the next 2 years, but we've got to probably expand our water storage capacity because we're going to end up being the central and focal point of trying to not only provide water to the region, but probably to the state, as we all kind of know at this table, and it's going to get gnarly. Part of that, excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm jumping around here a little bit. Part of that long-term sustainability is procurement reform. We'll have the memo coming from my office. I've talked about it many times. I think there's some guardrails we can put around how we do procurement and save a little money there as well. And then finally, that brings me to the last one, the kind of pipe dream, the right into the sunset Paul Cunningham dream. If we get all this stuff done in the next 18 months. The last piece I think that we're missing in Tucson is a city college. And I know it sounds out there, but having a city college where we can certify electricians and city workers, and we can certify people that aren't necessarily city workers yet, but they want to be. We can also certify police officers, firefighters for the whole region, right there at City College without them having to pay $250, $500 a credit hour. It would even have possibly an undergraduate program where, you pay $188 a unit. And that would be a lot better than what you're paying at some of the universities around the country. And I think that the City College model was set up so everybody had the best access possible to as free as possible public education. You guys know that public education's like my thing, and having an alternate baccalaureate that doesn't cost an arm and a leg in Tucson is how we have some of our younger people avoiding student loan debt. It's giving them opportunities where there's somewhere to go and something to do. So those are all the pieces to it. I know you won't surprise any of you that I probably have even more information fleshed out in details. Like I've written budgets for half of this stuff already, but thank you for indulging me for those 10 minutes and letting you know how much stuff is actually on my mind. It's like very specific and detailed. And we gotta be there, and we can. I think it's important to end this with this. We live in one of the coolest places ever, man. You can go and hit the slopes in the winter, and then 45 minutes later, jump in the river. And no one else has that. And so let's enjoy it, let's celebrate it, let's protect it, and let's make it the coolest place to be with the most opportunity.
Thank you, Councilmember Cunningham. Really appreciate it. Sorry we're gonna miss you for a
Don't
little
worry.
bit.
I'm gonna put on my YouTube. I'll be right back in about 35 minutes.
Okay. Councilwoman Lee.
Thank you, Mayor. So a lot of my priorities are probably not going to shock anyone here who's been working with me for any period of time, but my priorities remain rooted in our charter and core responsibility and doing that as best as we possibly can, and that's public safety, roads, and parks. And in a deficit environment, discipline is really going to matter. And the very reason that we exist in this government is to deliver core services well and to help create an environment for a strong local economy and opportunities for the folks who live here. So everything that I'm focused on this year and what has been in the past and will, spoiler alert, will be in the future is focused on that. So first of all, around core services and budget discipline, the overarching idea is to protect our service levels, especially in this deficit environment. And again, our charter defines our job, public safety, roads, and parks. And when we have our budget conversations, I think it's essential that we remain focused on what we are responsible for and also acknowledge what we are not responsible for. And we have to preserve our levels of service, and we have to do more with less without destabilizing our workforce to the best of our ability. We have to exhaust every revenue and efficiency pathway before we start to consider furloughs and layoffs. And for me, that includes looking at operational efficiencies, technology modernization, evaluating revenue sources and revenue left on the table, like transit fare recovery, and smarter performance metrics, which the city manager is doing a wonderful job with his KPIs and dashboarding. So again, the deficit requires focus, not panic, and we have to protect core services first, pursue efficiencies aggressively, and take care of our employees while we're doing all of the above. So to kind of dig a little bit further down into public safety, again, some of the colleagues have talked about this, really compassion and accountability and how those two are not opposite things. And public drug use remains a top concern that we hear from residents, and as we all know, we're exploring alternatives to the misdemeanor ordinance that I brought forward as a conversation starter last year, but that does not mean that we're abandoning accountability in our community, and we have to look at the systems that are in place that will enable us to get better results for the community. And one of the things I talked about at our last meeting was the felony interim process modernization that I understand needs to be done in order to more efficiently get our TPD officers' cases over to the county for consideration and hopefully prosecution. And that is taking an old system, a fillable PDF, and emailing it over and modernizing it into something that looks more like case management. And that will improve tracking improve, hopefully issuing percentage transparency, meaning how many of the cases we send over are actually moving forward in the process, and potentially increasing case acceptance, and that will benefit multiple jurisdictions beyond just Tucson. So we need real data and issues so that we can do our best as TPD and the city to send over the best cases possible to our partners at the county. Now, I want to talk about potholes. I've been thinking about potholes a
Me
lot.
too.
You know, Mayor,
I texted the city manager multiple times this weekend about potholes.
Yes. Last meeting, I referenced a 5-foot-long pothole that any one of us could fit in if we folded ourselves up. In thinking about this, Paul has big visions. I have a vision, Mayor, of a day where potholes don't exist in the city of Tucson. And I have some ideas here. I think we need to flip the model of how we do road maintenance. And I've been talking to the team about how we can do this. Right now, as we all know, it's very reactive. We see a pothole, we report a pothole, constituents report potholes, and then we pray to the road maintenance gods that the potholes will get fixed in time, and we wait and we wait and we wait. And I want to be very clear that our team is doing what they can with the resources that they have. And I believe that at this table, we can come up with a different way of adequately resourcing road maintenance in a different way. Right now, we don't have, to my knowledge, a clear public service level target for how quickly we resolve potholes based on the risk and the severity. And I have also noticed that it seems like potholes and the response times do vary across the city in some places. I know we're out in the corner at Ward 4, you're out there on the edge in Ward 5 too in some places. And I understand that some of the offices get turnarounds within a few weeks. Sometimes we're in the months. We're in 2+ months before we get craters filled. So what I would like us to start to talk about is creating a service level agreement or a target that we believe as the elected representatives of the Tucson community, what people should expect from the time they report a pothole till the time that it's fixed, and then figure out what it would take to do that, to accomplish that target, instead of what we're doing now, which is putting in a request and waiting. I think that Tucsonans deserve that level of standard, and it would allow us to communicate out to the community what the target is and then figure out how to get there. And again, the first place that my own brain went is how are we going to pay for this? But I think the first step is for us to decide what we think is reasonable for our residents, and then we figure out how we could possibly get there. Beyond adding more crews to actually go out and fill potholes, I think we should explore surge capacity contracts. So after monsoon season, if we have a lot of potholes, which we will, how can we work with local contractors to come in and fix that and get things up to speed? There also is some new technology. Of course, I've been looking at and talking to different people about who are making this technology, and they're being piloted in places like Dallas and Chicago that can detect cracks at a very small level and go out and fill the cracks with autonomous vehicles that are operated by a human. But the idea is that if we are so awesome with our road maintenance, it won't give a pothole an opportunity to even be born. And so that, to me, is a future goal, but I think it's something that I would really like for us to discuss and to talk about. So instead of asking what we can fix with what we have, we should ask what service levels our residents deserve, and then determine what it will take to get there. Also, along core services, I did not forget about our parks and rec and pools. Really, to me, this is just about maintaining safe and accessible parks, recreation facilities, and pools for our residents. And especially during a deficit year, I think staying on top of maintenance is going to be really, really important. So, supporting functions, I also did not forget about everybody else who is working hard within our organization to support the people that are out in the field delivering services. So, core services only function if support systems function. So our ability to deliver public safety, road maintenance, parks, and rec depends on strong internal operations behind every firefighter, officer, road crew, and parks employee, our teams in IT, HR, finance, payroll, procurement, contracts, risk management, and a lot of additional folks. So if I forgot to mention your function, please forgive me. These teams may not be in the field, but they're essential to the field. So during this deficit time, we need to make sure that we're appropriately staffing these functions, strategically resourcing them, modernizing where possible, and structuring for efficiency. I think that's absolutely critical. Also, of no surprise, I want to talk about cybersecurity, but only at a high level due to the nature of the topic. The threat environment to critical infrastructure is very real. I know that we have an executive session that is being scheduled now where we will get into more detail because we are not going to talk about that in a public forum. But I am working with the FBI to have someone come brief us, Mayor, ahead of time before we hear from our folks with more information about what the current threat environment looks like to municipal governments and to water utilities like ours. So publicly, we want to commit to awareness and investment, and privately behind closed doors is where we can talk about how we actually strengthen our security posture and where it's essential, and I'm sure you all will realize that after you hear these briefings, that we invest in cybersecurity in our organization. Cybersecurity is not an IT issue, it's a core service issue. If water, public safety, our elections, or other critical infrastructure systems fail, our community feels it immediately. Last but not least on my list is economic development, jobs, water, and values, kind of the intersection of all of those things. Tucson has lost jobs for the past 2 years straight. Not a large number of jobs, but we're definitely moving in the opposite direction that we want to be moving, and that impacts families as well as city revenues. Economic development needs to align with water stewardship, sustainability, and good paying jobs. And last meeting I mentioned the 4.5 billion gallons of reclaimed water that flow past the Tri-Crow Road and that opportunity. Again, I agree with what Councilmember Cunningham said with looking at additional water recharge capacity, also advanced purification, which is coming online, but then taking some of that reclaimed water that is leaving the system that Tucson residents have paid for and bringing that in and putting it to use to create jobs and find the right industrial partners in addition to recharge and advanced purification and aligned employers that are going to bring high-wage, long-term jobs to our region. And again, economic development for me is not separate from core services. Strong job growth stabilizes our budget, supports families, and strengthens our ability to deliver the public services that we deliver. And so in closing, my focus this year and always is disciplined, protect our core services, modernize systems that aren't working, define clear service standards for our residents, strengthen our cybersecurity posture, and align economic growth with our water reality, and stay grounded in our charter and disciplined in our execution, and will navigate the deficit period responsibly and emerge even stronger. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilmember Dahl?
Thank you. What a hard act to follow. I'm tempted to say ditto. But I saw a lot of my concerns in yours, and I'm not going to speak to all of my priorities because I have a long list. When I ran 5 years ago, I ran on climate, water, and neighborhood resiliency, and I got the advice, Kevin, people are concerned about potholes, and they certainly are. That's part of neighborhood resiliency, I think. Three points in each of these. Under climate, you know, we're coming out strong on heat resiliency. One area where we're really good at putting stuff in the ground is our storm to shade, our green water infrastructure unit in Tucson Water. They need more funding. This one project costs $250,000. So, for instance, if we could take the differential bucket that we have and give it to storm to shade, that means there could be a project in each of our wards, which I think is important. Likewise, and this ties to climate directly to housing security. People are having to pay high prices for electricity and water to stay cool, especially in low-income neighborhoods. Unpayable bills means people lose their homes. And we have some eviction programs that, in partnership with our folks in Pima County, but we need to pay special attention to that, because once someone leaves their mobile home and have no other resources, then it's so much harder to get them back into housing and their lives back on track. Like many of you, I'm a champion for pools where kids can be outside in the summer. We have good public pools. I want to maintain our family swim hours in the summer, which is also kind of tied to water. You know that I've argued for a long time that new businesses coming in should be net zero water, and I'm thinking we need to expand that. Any new large-size development should be doing net zero water, and at least doing water harvesting. From Tumamoc Mountain, you can see a new development, and they've just scraped the desert, and there's no requirement for them to do any water harvesting, stormwater management to bring back the trees that will shade those homes, without putting in a lot of Tucson water, potable water. So I think we need to explore that. We have a commercial rainwater harvesting ordinance, and it's working pretty well, but there are some tweaks. Our expert, Brad Lancaster, has been monitoring and following it. He has some suggestions, and I'll be bringing that to the Mayor Council soon. And I'm real excited to be talking about the larger water users. We need to get a handle on that. Neighborhood resiliency, well, that's where everything else lives in my ward. Ward 3 is, you know, we have the most homeless incidents in the city, the most code enforcement actions. And I don't know this for a fact, but I'm going to proclaim it, the most vacant and neglected structures. And we were so happy to see at Fort Lowell at First, the old building that had been there for a long time, and the owner had a plan, but kept wanting more time to make it happen. We can do more and better with our vans, and fight blight, fight areas that attract crime, attract drug use, and get those structures back on into the economy. Finally, the open use, drug use, and homelessness, which is not the same. We know that there are people doing drugs openly who have places to sleep at night, and we know that there are homeless people who are able to stay away from the drugs. But I think in the public's mind, combined to the same sort of irritation. Ward 3 has been working with us in many different ways. So proud to be home of our Star Village that the mayor and the vice mayor championed, which I think has been a huge success, and we need to expand programs like that. But we work almost every day with Cashew too, them and the housing navigators, and I would hate to see we constrict any of that in the coming year, because that helps people so much. They just do very good work. And with that, I'll give away the rest of my time.
Thank you, council member. Really appreciate it. Vice Mayor.
All right. Yeah, thank you, everyone. I wrote copious notes trying to see what the priorities of my colleagues are. So my first top priority, of course, is housing. For me, increasing housing opportunity isn't just about building more units. It's about preventing displacement and strengthening stability. That means moving forward with the right to return. It means investing in eviction prevention. It means expanding supply across income levels, and doing it with real anti-displacement guardrails. It's promoting housing mobility near transit, schools, and jobs. And it also means creating pathways to long-term wealth building, including first-time home ownership and supportive housing that actually moves people towards stability, not just in crisis response, which we know is very expensive. My second priority is reducing traffic fatalities and serious injuries. We can't accept that people are dying on our streets. We need better data, faster deployment of quick build safety improvements, and a real focus on high injury corridors, especially in historically underinvested neighborhoods. Transportation access is an economic issue. If people can't safely get to work, school, or childcare, then we're failing them. My third priority is securing long-term sustainable transit funding and preserving universal access through fare-free transit. Transit is critical infrastructure. Preserving this universal access will ensure that working families and seniors can reliably get to jobs and services. We need both short-term and long-term funding strategies, and we need to right-size the system responsibly if regional funding isn't available. But we cannot lose sight of the fact that universal access has been transformational for working families, youth, and seniors. For our biggest challenges, Mayor, I'm just gonna follow the format that you had provided for us. I think it continues to be housing affordability and homelessness, continues to be a strain. We have to focus on long-term stability and breaking cycles of intergenerational poverty. The fentanyl epidemic has been devastating our families. We need to continue coordinated responses that integrate public health, behavioral health, diversion, and workforce reentry, and not just siloed approaches in this effort. We're also struggle with scaling programs that we know work, like youth employment, small business support, workforce pathways, because we don't have enough funding to meet that demand. So as we're navigating state and federal preemption, plus a series of misinformation problem, we need faster, clear communication so residents actually understand and can access the resources that we're investing in. When it comes to climate and water, I think we need to continue being honest about our desert reality. Large-scale developments must meet strict water and energy standards, and we need to aggressively address urban heat, especially for our seniors and residents in mobile home parks. We need to continue to invest in shade, cooling infrastructure, and continued investment in cooltainers and similar initiatives. On transportation and mobility, we should revisit the Jarrett Walker study, continue implementing our safety action plan, and center the lived experience of riders. Zero traffic-related deaths should be our standard. That means slowing traffic and redesigning high-injury corridors and areas near schools. On economic opportunity, I want to continue investing in legacy small business corridors and expand pathways for entrepreneurship and micro-business ownership. That includes grants, workshops, and making city resources easier to navigate. I strongly support continuing and expanding our youth employment programs with clear pathways into city careers and long-term workforce participation. For children and youth, I think safe routes to school and universal access to transit are essential. Youth employment is not just a program, it's a violence prevention and economic mobility strategy, and I am proud to have been a participant in that when I was in high school. In housing and affordability, I support expanding the Star Village model and other low-barrier congregate shelter approaches where appropriate, and we need to move forward with the right to return to protect community networks and prevent displacement. Under our Safe City initiative, I want better traffic safety data and rapid infrastructure response. I want to expand on our gun violence prevention through data-driven, community-based strategies that prioritize youth intervention, trauma-informed services, and cross-sector coordination to address root causes of gun violence. In courts and public safety, I want us to closely monitor the Safer Center pilot and use what we learned to better respond to fentanyl and mental health crises. We need to operationalize our housing emergency framework so it actually increases access to housing and long-term stability. On technology and accessibility, we need better public-facing communication and digital accessibility. I'd like to see a citywide CRM system that improves internal tracking and follow-up, and we must protect residents' privacy so people feel safe accessing our services, especially in the context of federal immigration enforcement. In managing future growth, we have to align decisions with water availability and infrastructure capacity. Growth must expand opportunity, not deepen inequity. And pro-housing policy must include anti-displacement guardrails. Finally, I want to continue investing in our participatory budgeting and institutionalize it as a permanent part of how we govern. Shared decision-making builds trust and ensures resources reflect community priorities. I also want us to start thinking ahead about the continuation of our Parks and Connections bond in 2027, improving parks as an economic and community anchors, and conducting a serious assessment of public restroom access so we can expand safe and dignified facilities in high-use areas. At the end of the day, all this ties back to stability, safety, and better outcomes. If we stay disciplined and aligned with our Prosperity Initiative framework, we can move from crisis management toward long-term mobility and generational change. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I really appreciate it. I love hearing all of you and the priorities that we all have. For me, it's about having a working family agenda, right? I have been working on our working family agenda from the very beginning, since I ran in November of 2007, or when I won in November of 2007, but even before then, right? So for me, it's simple. It's how do we make the quality of life better for working families in Tucson? And it's simple, you know, it's about continuing the Safe City initiative, because everyone deserves to have a safe park to play in, a safe neighborhood to walk your dog or your children in, safe bus stops and transit centers. So Safe City initiative is a huge priority for me. Of course, housing affordability, we started it with our housing affordability strategy for Tucson. We cannot slow down on housing affordability, especially now that the federal government is moving far away from housing affordability. We've got to be smart in how we leverage any additional state funds that might be available, and continue doing the work that we started. Economic development is a huge piece of the work that we must do. And I agree with Councilwoman Lee that it is part of what we should be doing. It's part of the core services that we should be doing, even if it's not defined in our charter. and partnering with, I agree with all of you, some of you talked about partnering with University of Arizona, partnering with TUSD, SUSD, and other school districts to be able to create long-term high-wage jobs in Tucson that will not exhaust our natural resources. We need to align the Prosperity Initiative with economic development, with water resource conservation. All of it has to align in order for us to be able to be aggressively either working with the businesses and companies that we already have here. It shouldn't be one or the other, right? It's small business investment, legacy business investment, and expansion of companies that we currently have, as well as being able to attract the companies that Tucsonans can say yes to, that we will be proud to be able to bring to Tucson. So economic development, we've already started that work with our Bloomberg Harvard City Leadership Initiative. We have interviewed many stakeholders in the community with that program and really received the input and feedback from different stakeholders, both internally through the city of Tucson and externally. I think some of you participated in interviews and in our ideation sessions. Same thing with our outside stakeholders. We brought them in, interviewed colleagues on the Board of Supervisors, the county administrator, tons of stakeholders in the community. So we're going to continue working on economic development. One of the things that we all know where is a challenge, I think. We've done such an amazing job and such amazing work internally, creating services that never existed before in the last 6 years, with from Housing First and serving with low barrier shelter, creating housing navigators, our community safety, health, and wellness program. We've created our Viva program. So we're expanding on the work that we're doing together. We've spent at least a year working with Pima County and the justice system in Pima County, trying to align all of the different pieces, right? The city of Tucson does some work, Pima County does other pieces, and so we've got to be able to streamline our justice system to be able to deliver better outcomes, expanding programs that really deflect people from going to jail, and that's something that we're working with Pima County as well. The big gaps that we have realized we have as a community is mental behavioral health and substance use disorders and how to deal with it, right? And I always talk about the charter. Well, the charter never ever in there one says you've got to figure out behavioral health issues and substance use disorders. But I do see it as a public health issue, It's a public health crisis, and we've got to be able to partner and ally with Pima County and the state to be able to fill those huge gaps. Those are the tangible pieces that we're missing. A perfect example where we are partnering successfully is our Safer Center. I'm requesting that we get a report on the Safer Center when we have our Safe City Initiative update next, because we have to see what the metrics are, right? What is it showing? And the Safer Center is a pilot program. If it is working, we need to expand it. All of the programs, someone said we have programs that are working, I think you said it, Vice Mayor, but we need to scale them up and expand them. I agree with that, and that I will continue working on making sure that we're filling the gaps and we're finding the allies and nonprofits and other governments that will help us fill the unsheltered homeless crisis in terms of behavioral health and substance use. Investments in our streets. I think, we've all canvassed, we've all do constituent work, we all receive those calls. Tucsonans want to see us invest in our infrastructure. And, as a council member that pushed the Complete Streets ordinance forward back when I was on the council representing Ward 1 and passed as a newly elected mayor our Move Tucson Transportation and Transit priorities. I am going to continue pushing on Complete Streets, making sure that our transit system is not only safe, but that we have a fully functional transit system. And of course, part of the infrastructure investment is road investment. How do we make sure that that we have better infrastructure, that we have complete streets, and that we have safe streets for all, right? Safe streets for pedestrians and cyclists and people that roll around. And so we have to make sure that we do that. Economic development and job creation based on the Prosperity Initiative. I started my conversation with the economic development with the Bloomberg-Harvard Initiative. We are really trying to find an economic development strategy in partnership with the community and stakeholders in our region, where we really take a look at the goal of not just job creation and high-wage long-term job creation, but also how do we bring the poverty levels down. And that should be a priority for us. We do need to create jobs. We do not want to be on the wrong side of losing jobs. They have to be long-term high-wage jobs that have worker protections, and aligning with apprenticeship programs and programs like JTED is something that we have to and must partner with the school districts. And how do we create a pipeline for the benefit of families from schools and school districts through apprenticeship programs, or connecting them to Pima College or the University of Arizona and into long-term high-wage jobs here in the city of Tucson. Other than that, I have a whole list of things that we could talk about: climate, water, and sustainability, exploring pathways to increase energy resiliency through microgrids, battery storage, and other municipal solutions. I'm very, very interested in that. I think that's the next generation of work that we're going to be working on in terms of our climate action and adaptation plan. Ensuring that future large water users operate below the suggested city threshold, and capturing the opportunities for additional water investments here in the city of Tucson. Alrighty, I could go over all of them. The small business program is something that's very important. International trades and workforce development continue to shine the spotlight in Tucson. We are geographically blessed when it comes to possible partnerships with Mexico. We should advocate for the renewal of USMCA, continue working with the U.S.-Mexico Commission, and strengthen the existing partnerships that we have with Sonora, Sinaloa, Baja California, to make sure that we become a hub for Mexican companies. This is something that I've been dreaming about, right? Because Tucson, geographically, we're connected to Mexico. We're 60 miles away from the border. Connected from one of the busiest ports of entry in the country, and then connect to the West Coast via I-10 and the East Coast via I-10, rail, etc. We've got to take advantage of that and take steps moving forward. Children and youth, we have to continue with KidCo program. I really actually like the idea that Councilmember Cunningham has brought. How do we create value add for public school district inside the city of Tucson, in partnership with the schools that are inside the city of Tucson? Inside the city of Tucson, we could have after-school programming as well as preschool in our local public school. And how do we take advantage of all of the programs out there, whether it's state, federal, or school district programs, to be able to, you know, tout that value add, that if you live inside the city of Tucson, you will have an amazing school district that will service you and your family. And you don't have to move outside of the city to have good, high-quality public education. In terms of growth, and having smart investment within our city, one of the reasons why I've been advocating to pass the community corridors tool is because we have to make sure that we're creating transit-oriented development, making sure that that development is supporting our transit system, and that we have multi-use developments within the city of Tucson where you can work, live and play, send your kids to the neighborhood school, and have an amazing quality of job. So continue investing in infill development, and so that it could help expand our housing supplies across the city of Tucson. So that's about what I've written. I know that I've forgotten some stuff, but I want to make sure that we have opportunity for discussion, and I know that our city manager has some activities planned for us. If I'm correct, I don't know.
You are correct.
All righty, Mr. Manager, you heard from us. I don't know if we want to take a little break to the restroom, or take a little 5-minute break, run to the restroom, and then come right back. are back, everyone. Did we get Paul Cunningham back? He's not here.
In for a minute.
He was in here somewhere? Okay. So item 4. Wait a minute, just a second, because the city manager's not here.
Oh, boy.
And and it's gonna be his turn. No Paul yet. Okay, so item 4.
Priority activities led by City Manager, Mr. Thomure.
All right. Thank you, Mayor and Council, and we'll catch Councilmember Cunningham up when he gets here. So, thank you all for sharing your priorities here at the table, and most, if not all of you, also shared your thoughts in advance. So, over the weekend, a couple of us, actually not me, kind of compiled a lot of that information into some kind of groupings we did that are around the room. This is not asking you to debate the lumping and splitting, but it is an attempt to try to get you to sort of engage with the materials and a little bit with each other, and then sort of express some general preference or prioritization of things. Because everything you said was a priority. We hear you. We also, everybody also said discipline and work within our means. We hear that. And we have some discussion about the budget here in a little bit, but we won't solve any of that today. But we are laying out the priorities, and then we're laying out the box within which we can work on these things. So, and because it's a retreat, we wanted to get you up and moving around a little bit more than just sitting there chatting at each other. So, you will see arrayed around the room 10 different areas that I'm going to ask you to go visit and just pay a little time with in no particular order. And at each of those 10 stations is a short or long piece of paper with things that are kind of grouped together, clustered together. And I do want to thank Lane Mandel and Charlene Mendoza for helping digest that over the weekend. And then, and I'll get to the rest of my props later, because I wasn't sure how we wanted to do the budget, which prop. And then I talked to Councilmember Dahl this morning. He said, use all the props.
Of course he did.
Of course he
So don't choose. And I'm like, okay, so we've got the Jenga, we've got the Monopoly money, we've got my engineer's ruler, we've got all the things. But we're gonna just do dots for this.
For now.
For now. So, my ask is, you've listened to each other, maybe work your way around the room to each of the 10 stations and formulate your thoughts, and then you're each gonna get 6 dots.
6 dots.
6 dots.
Only 6.
Only 6?
Well, I would give you 10 dots, but you gotta take 4 dots from one of your colleagues.
My strength?
That's it.
Cage match dots.
Can we sell them?
Can you sell barter?
For dark chocolate?
This is worth 2 dots.
Right. Because if I did it with the Monopoly money, you'd think there's money. And you'd be like, I'm aligning this resource. But the reality is, there's gonna be a pile of money that's already allocated. And you first have to take $40 million out of that pile of money and spend it on nothing. And then you have to take any other dollar you want away from something to spend it on something else. But that would not be very fun at a retreat. And we don't have enough cameras set up to catch all of the action that would ensue. But if you would indulge me for maybe 15, 20 minutes, and think about how we've reflected it, because again, as the mayor said at the beginning, we're going to come back to you with a report of this retreat, of what we heard. And we are really trying to hear it in multiple ways. You submitted responses to a questionnaire. You talked here at the table. You're going to be talking amongst yourselves and making fun of me for the next 15 minutes, and that's cool. And then that shapes the menu of things we bring back to you to say, well, to do this or these things, here's another way to approach it that might be different, but maybe we can get to the better outcomes you're seeking. Or it might be, we are recommending you consider doing less of this thing to do more of that thing, which is a lot of that prioritization you were talking about. So this is the time where
So what are the instructions again?
you stand up.
Stand up.
Again, just one thing at a time. You literally stand up.
stickers.
Stand up.
I will approach you with your stickers. It's very
6
Godfather-like moments coming. Where I
6
walk up to you and I
stickers.
give you your 6 stickers.
Okay.
And you're really, it's a big white piece of paper. You're not filling it, just apply stickers either on the blank space or if there's a particular thing on the list. You only get 6. Tell us of these things. These are the core principles that you're really trying to achieve. So begin to familiarize, yes?
I was reminded I'm the mayor and I should get 8.
So
I would say
what, Mayor, and I say this for the camera, most people are getting colored round circles. The mayor is getting stars.
It's awesome.
So the mayor is already special. Okay. Please take some time.
So we don't write on the big pieces of paper, we're just.
Not yet. For now, you're familiarizing where you're at,
And we put it like any
Wherever
place
you
on the paper? Any place on the?
any place on the paper.
Okay.
If there's something written on the specific lines that you want to highlight, you can put it right next to it, or you can just put it there.
So 15 minutes, is that what you said, Mr. Thomure?
15 minutes on the clock. That takes us to 2:05 and change. All right. Vice Mayor, you still only get 6. Okay, you got to choose your color. You're welcome. All right.
That's 6 green.
Thank you. Oh, good job.
6 yellow.
Okay.
6
All right, you keep. What did you have in your hand?
Red, they used to get red, didn't
So I didn't get purple.
Oh, that's not, that's fine.
That's fine. Okay. That would have been purple.
I have a greenie back.
Let's find dots. We don't use dots anymore.
Probably like for
I know. Like right here on the bottom? Or on the
Either toward the bottom or on this one. Because now you're just like showing us where your emphasis are.
Choice, Kevin, choice.
I'm reading your stars. Thank you. I brought my own fan.
Block your talk.
All right. You got purple yet?
Yeah.
And you got stars yet?
Tim, can you put 2 dots on one piece of paper?
You can. You can vote your dots however you want.
Just a reminder, mics are still live.
Councilmember Barajas. Oddly enough, in all of your stuff, the top, how many times did tacos come up?
Many, so.
Hey, Tim, this one has an incomplete bullet.
Okay.
It says strength,
Strength pin.
strength in what? One little clerical error.
And the whole city is like a box. Have you not found that?
Might need a new 6.
Would you put on a sheet of paper? It's okay. You're within the range of we know you're there. If you go lower half, you're good. All right, you got that. You're doing fine. There's not enough chatter in this room.
strengthen our ability to deliver.
That one.
I think it was a trick.
Cut and then that one.
Yeah.
Just because they're.
Little video.
Mr. Thomure.
There's my yard. But what cracks me up is the way Amaya kept clapping her little hands. She's just so happy with Chuck E. Cheese. Stuff like that just cracks me up. And then Naomi was doing I told my daughter, she's doing a certain dance, you probably should not have it be doing. I'll show it.
Anybody still have stickers? Don't forget this important one over here that was hard to read.
Oh, you were blocking.
They were blocking it.
I think it should combine with the other one. I think the two on the end seem similar enough. They could be together.
Let's combine them all.
No, come on, that's just silly.
Let's combine more.
Selina, are you still on?
I can't wait to play
Is it
with
the
them.
fall? Are you still thinking the fall that you're gonna open? Wait, really? Wait. Can't wait to have our meetings.
Yeah. Just half of it. So I wanted them to interview the makers, but they didn't even interview them yesterday, so we were just taking pictures. There's gonna be a 2-minute clip on this minor.
On the what?
This minor.
I know, I've been successfully using it for 20 years. That's the only brand I buy. Yeah, you just.
So, they had this guy called, they interviewed people, check this for us, help on it. So April 1st, I said, how good, because it was so hot yesterday.
And it's gonna be all in the 80s. It's great.
I mean, it wasn't stated as a rule. Interesting, that's an interesting. They push it. That is a total teenager thing to do. Yeah. It is. Oh, you didn't say it was okay. Exactly.
Oh, I know.
Anybody still packing circles or stars?
Do we get another round of stars?
This time we have to try to knock each other over when we put them up. That's why I'm saying this. I'm like, I need to get woken up. I need to
Oh,
wake
right, there's
do a little
actual
jostling.
things that we mentioned here.
It'll be good for us.
My head hurt.
You made you think.
You make me think my brain is burning.
I felt like it was a trick.
I felt the pressure.
Or something similar that the mayor could use. Big ones for the mayor.
With this creme brulee tea. Yes.
She's got it.
No, it's oolong tea, but it's the flavor's creme brulee. So it's really good. I'll see if there's no soda. Yes.
All right. Good, you encourage whatever you want. These are the mayor and council. This is what they're doing. Perfect. All right, thank you all. We're ready for step 2 of the exercise. Thank you for doing this. And you all have a pen and some relatively similar colored stickies to your dots. The mayor's, of course, had stars, and she gets just giant pieces.
What?
So this is not at all a reflection of the fact that.
It's so funny.
All right, I did want to note that some of you pointed out a couple of things that didn't appear on the dot voting. And there are 4 things that I'll mention. And these 4 things were not put on the dot voting because you all said them. And those 4 things are water conservation, road maintenance and potholes, housing affordability, like all this stuff, all the housing affordability except for maybe some specific things, and then PFAS and water safety / so you have water conservation, which is, we're very familiar with that. That's that actual efficiency and conservation of our users. But also, separate from that is our security and our safety of our water supply. So those are both, water appears twice in those common themes. So we're taking those as basically written. Now, with your magic markers and your sticky notes, if you wouldn't mind taking about 5 to 10 minutes, which you're running ahead. We were at 2:05 on the previous one. It's 2 o'clock now, so you're efficient. You're running like a well-oiled machine. You have till 2:10 on this one, which is if there's any explanation you want to do, anything you thought was missing that you heard today that you want to add to a category, anything you want to write relatively quickly on a sticky note and add to the white space on any of these categories. You can include comments like, this was in the wrong place, and it should have been over here. However you'd like to do that, however you'd like to add some flavor to your input, this is your 10 minutes to do that. So.
Mayor, I did get a text with some questions. If anyone could explain to folks watching what's on the different pages, that might be helpful. I don't know if it's doable.
We
but-
can do that.
'Cause people
Jim's gonna
can't
come
see
with
that.
me, and we're gonna go, while you're doing this, in between now and 2:10, we're gonna go chart to chart. For those of you watching at home that are, the still camera's gonna become a mobile camera.
Whatever we want.
If you
He's
want
going
to add something
handheld.
that's missed,
I can zoom in.
You'll zoom into these, will you pick me up when I'm talking?
If you
I was gonna,
project.
yeah,
I was Okay.
gonna like write a one, like, combine with this one and then do there. And then I wanted to
So while we do
This is my only
that, see, what is the instructions?
If there's anything
You
you
are.
want to add,
Madam Mayor. You can write whatever notes or guidance you want to provide to us, whether it's you want to explain how you did your voting, whether you think a thing is on the wrong sheet, whether you think something was glaringly missing.
Mm-hmm.
And you just write it on a sticky and add it to the
Okay.
white space.
Okay.
All right? Or you just catch me later and tell me where I messed up. That's what we normally do. Over here. So you're gonna hear me talking, and I'm just explaining to the live studio audience what we're doing. This category is things that are around discussion and governance related to our citizens and customers. So it includes things like our boards, committees, and commissions as a group, and how we educate community members about the services of the city. So that is what is on this category, with no dots, as yet. We have a category that's around technology, basically. It's, modernizing our digital systems, everything from our client relationships management system, or CRM, to video initial appearances for justice. So it's kind of a technology box. Many votes there. A justice, which is community safety related to justice, gun violence initiatives, community court, health, services for behavioral health and substance abuse disorders, things of that nature is a category. This will all find its way into the memo. We have kind of a housing, but not necessarily housing directly. It's how do we create the environment for housing, whether that's zoning tools, getting people housed through like that Star Village, which is a pilot now, we continue to expand it. How do we work with local developers, the private sector, in order to get more housing? We have that category here. Working our way, counterclockwise around the row. We have kind of youth, employment, education. How are we working to create opportunity for youth in Tucson, but also pathways into the workforce, whether that's with the city or in other areas? And then how do we do our best to either break down barriers or provide ramps over barriers for folks, especially youth, in order to access that economy, access jobs, access training, access prosperity. Here, we have, oh, go ahead, I'm gonna let you do your thing. Go ahead, I'm gonna step behind the wall for a second. Jim, I'll be right with you, because we're halfway through. Okay. Jim just handed. We'll be drinking my sustainably sourced and responsibly packaged water, which is in a metal recyclable can. All right. Here we have things related to transit, but actually multimodal things related to the safety of our ability for folks to move around the community, whether that's focusing on our high priority corridors for incidents, it's our transit system writ large, expanding opportunities, bus rapid transit, things of that nature, moving people around.
This one's keeping people safe.
Thank you, Councilmember Cunningham. Keeping people safe while we moving them around, creating the opportunities for them to move around. Interrelated? A little different.
So, yes.
Okay. Gotta have both. Here we have things that are around, there's 3 items on it, I'll just tell you what they are. There's reducing permitting barriers, smart infill development with capital investments to align with our neighborhood needs, and preventing displacement by preserving community networks and neighborhoods. So it's around prosperity, but in the area of how do we help people get work done in the city through these very targeted investments. With also some additional things coming into this category as well. Here, hanging with the mayor, with her large orange sticky notes, which you'll see prominent. Here we have nexuses to sustainability in the form of things like regulation of large-scale development with regard to energy, pathways to entrepreneurship and micro-business. So how do we develop an economy that's right for Tucson? Recognizing the strengths that we have and the resources we're trying to protect while trying to create economic vitality. And that can be our built environment that already exists, and how are we building the future environment and the economy that goes with it. And then finally, things around environmental justice, climate resilience. Somebody has suggested centering environmental justice, building climate resilience, implementing Tucson Resilient Together, electrifying our city, decarbonizing our city operations. A lot of climate resilience happening here on this. Jim, as you follow me around the room, I'm getting the thumbs up. Did I hit all 10 as far as you could tell? Okay. Hopefully that was helpful to the folks watching at home or watching on video replay. This was occurring on February 23rd, 2026. So when you're watching the reruns on the Me TV channel, just recognize that's why we're dressed like we are. This happened in 2026. And the microphones are still on.
Thank you.
Question? Did Pat scare everybody off from this category?
No, I wasn't scared.
It's a good one, I feel bad for it.
You know, it's that kind of thing where you're like, not every category is gonna get all the love.
It's a little sympathy post over there.
Oh,
It's lonely, not anymore.
City managers or stuff do it out there.
Did they pack up the food?
The food is gone.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
As Jim zooms in on Lane. Sorry. The food is
It's just gonna turn into an office-style mockumentary.
It really is.
Well,
The dessert was really good too.
Turn it into a show.
maybe they went to a Target and
It's probably completely gone.
it's gone. It went to people in need.
It was really good food.
Was it? That was good.
Who was in need?
I'm just trying to get myself out of some hot water. We are winding down. We have one more part of it before we take another quick break before that. But I've got the mayor still certain. This is where I fill the time by saying, did everybody have their crying moments over the weekend looking at Punch the monkey and his name's Punch.
It really is, for folks listening at
The
home.
monkey
He's not
in the zoo.
asking you to punch the monkey, that's the monkey's name.
The
No, I
mon-
was crying about Alyssa Wu,
Well, there's that's crying.
Mhm.
like in a joyful.
That was so
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
I've never seen someone so happy. It's almost like us doing this retreat right now with joy, is what her performance was.
I wanna be as
Yeah.
effortless looking as her.
Yeah, this was your short program. Get ready for the long program.
I'm gonna get rid of those.
Oh my gosh.
It's the macaque in Japan who was abandoned by his mother and has been raised by a stuffed animal. And he carries his stuffed animal around.
It is sad, and they're mean to him and they bully him.
But they're getting better. They're accepting him now.
They should,
So anyway,
because the whole world has accepted him.
yeah, people willing to do what it takes for Punch Key the monkey.
I gotta tell you, the hydraulic point,
On the hot mics, Mr.
the
Cunningham.
hydraulic point for me was definitely, the, Quinn's younger brother Jack scoring the goal.
Yeah,
I mean, that was high drama. I don't watch a lot of sudden death, so, or that golden goal, whatever you wanna call
the
it.
golden goal.
I mean, that was pretty cool.
It wasn't your rap performance that was the highlight of your week?
I know, that's what I thought you were gonna say.
That's what the whole city's talking about.
No one was
It was
talking.
in the agenda.
Everyone will do
And
that.
it was discussed during lunch.
Yeah, see, it's water cooler.
I moved here last night at 10 o'clock.
Don't
and I
encourage
heard
him,
about
he'll
it already.
break out in it.
You will.
I was hoping it would happen.
Pack you up a beat.
It's been stuck in my head all weekend.
You're a superstar, man. I just want to credit Kashmansky for making it. He's like one of the best rappers in Tucson. He's the one who made
He
it.
is.
He made it cool. I just wrote some stuff down and said, hey, rap about this.
He's so talented.
Was
It's
your-
really cool.
Was your event well attended?
Yeah, it was sold out, I think.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it was packed.
With talent like that, it's hard to imagine it not
Who needs monkeys?
selling out.
We'll just need to do another one so that the other members of the council can participate.
No, thanks.
You could totally do, you could do a comedy set.
I could do
can
stand-up.
picture it.
Yeah,
With
yeah.
I can
props.
picture
No,
it.
He has
With
lots of
props.
You like Carrot Top? No, thanks.
That's what you'll do after you get done with council. That'll be your next career.
What's the guy who does the angry comedy Black?
The
Oh,
angry
Louis
one.
Black, the one who just complains.
Louis Black, yeah.
Yeah.
I could do a Louis Black.
Yeah, that kind of grumpy.
Yeah, grumpy old man comedy.
I like grumpy old man comedy. Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. All right.
Yes, thank you for waiting for me.
No problem, you're right on time. So, to conclude this part of the agenda, if you'll indulge me one more time. And none of you were prepared for this, so, would you like to share any of your thoughts verbally of what you heard from each other and/or when you were looking at the materials that were submitted and the chance to look at what you saw today? And kind of what we want to know is, was this at least a little bit helpful in trying to get onto the table or onto the walls, your priorities, and what you'd like to see from us coming forward as we put the budget? So, if we.
Yeah, I'll start. I learned so much from each and every one of you, but I want to highlight Nikki for her deep dive, it's like on the potholes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The potholes are very deep to dive inside.
I've talked about potholes for years, and usually, well, I can amplify your concerns. I can find out, oh, they're not doing it all over the city. They're just starting in Ward so-and-so. They're going to, but let's tackle it from the top down.
Would you like to go around your?
And anyone that wants to jump in, I think this is a perfect time to just have a conversation.
So I left out the two transportation pieces because, like, I think there's a mishmash, and I think there's stuff that goes on one and one that goes on the other. There's one or two I absolutely want priorities on that one or two, and that could be like 4 topics, it could be 3 topics. If you combine them both, you could combine them both, and you could just say leave. So that one was really weird for me. This one was basically the parks one, where this is like the parks and youth one, which is kind of my thing. So I really have this belief that as we invest in our youth and in our parks, we get results on way other things because we just get engagement from the community. Those were my kind of thinking behind it. Obviously, modernizing IT so we can do all the things we want to do is kind of like that. It's so boring, but it's also so important and so necessary. And that's
mayor.
And that's kind of
the other mayor.
And that's kind of some of the stuff that we really want to have. So I think, hey man, I think it's a really good exercise, and I commend the mayor for putting us in a room like this, especially after a council reset where we have 2 new members and a new alignment. I think it's important to do this type of stuff. So it's a good exercise, and it gives us kind of some clarity on where people's things are. On this one, I'm like the lone wolf, but this one was successful for me, because it was the only one that actually talked about expanding our economy. And if we really want to meet our budget needs, we have to be aggressive on, and then take some risks on how we expand our economy. We have to think about the economy not just in creating surplus jobs, but in able to incubate jobs and incubate industry, trying to find another sector. My mom and I were driving back from the legislature on Thursday, and my mom said, well, we should have the 4 A's: Aeronautics, Air Force, University of Arizona, and Astronomy. And that could be the 4 A's. It's just like the 5 C's. And for those of you who are under 30, the 5 C's were citrus, cattle, cotton, climate, and copper. And so that's kind of how this stuff runs, and it's true. We have to look at another sector development. We also have to look at how many people leave Tucson to Phoenix every weekend, because we don't have features here, like, again, water parks, like some of the better concert tours, some of the Live Nation shows that we used to get at TCC that we don't. Those are things that are actually economic drivers for us. So I think as this discussion evolves, I think it's important that we don't leave out economic development in this conversation, because it's that money that drives everything that we want to do. And so that's kind of that was the only one that really had like some true economic surplus job development. And whether we are going to expand our economic sector, our manufacturing sector, our optics sector, those are the sectors that are kind of our bread and butter. And we've got to figure out which ones we're going to use to do that. I actually think there's some, with this water thing evolving and thinking ahead 5-10 years, the agricultural sector will present some opportunities for us as well. that's my, thanks for letting me know.
Thank you. Any others? Go ahead.
The Post-it note there on the corner and the other one, I felt like belonged together. And I really liked the Post-it note on the far one from you, Mayor, about how it seems like a good area for a dedicated funding source. I got really excited when I saw that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just kind of expanding a little bit with Councilmember Paul Cunningham said was like with this, I feel like it's the umbrellas, Parks and Rec, but I added our community centers, just really how to like revamp some of our community centers or re-engage with some of our community centers, and thinking of that in terms of after-school programming, our arts and culture, and then leading into arts and culture. I really want to think of that as a kind of like a vessel for economic development. So thinking of our, rapid bus possible, or just any of our very busy corridors, to think of like placekeeping strategies, like murals or street furniture. So it creates more of a destination, and then leading into like economic development. If we could start really identifying other areas besides the core area of destinations for our broader Tucson community. So I put just more cultural corridors, historic corridors, or call it something else. And then I think that was the main. Oh, for this one I put the quote, "Nothing stops a bullet like a job," of that Homeboy Industries model, really focusing on jobs for formerly incarcerated folks that can't vote, can't drive. So thinking about how can we create real jobs for these folks so they don't go back into incarceration or become, homeless, or become drug addicts, or just go back on the streets. So how can we be really intentional, mindful of thinking of job opportunities for those that are coming out of the system?
Yeah, I'll add. There's some internal stuff sprinkled throughout all of these pages, but there wasn't a big page that was like our own internal operations and how do we do things better and how do we find efficiencies that will lower our cost of doing business, which can enable money to do other things, right? And I know Councilmember Cunningham talked about it at the last meeting, but when we look at the forecast, and we haven't even seen the 5-year forecast numbers so far, it's not going to be very pretty. And I feel very strongly about making sure that we're doing whatever we can do to look for all of those efficiencies, because I also do not want to get to the point where we're having to talk about furloughs and layoffs and impacting our workforce. So I think to me that continues to be a top priority is internal. A lot of the stuff is kind of external facing programs above and beyond what is the minimum requirement. And I don't want to be a dream killer here today because it's important that we have a vision, but also we've got to look inside of our organization and do a lot of work.
Yeah, I appreciate having these conversations because we usually are so focused on the issues either in study or in regular session. We don't have an opportunity to just share the dream and the vision, but also how do we add everyone's voice into the decision-making process as we move towards a really difficult budget year. I really like that you keep us on track and focused and disciplined, to look at the efficiencies internally. Like, we need to do those exercises as well. I look around and hearing all of you, I really loved also that you did a deep dive into roads maintenance. And is it time for us to take a look at how we do roads maintenance and compare ourselves to other jurisdictions our size so that we can have a much more effective road maintenance program? I really, really like that. In terms of bringing in the priorities that I heard from everyone, I know that everyone's thinking about economic development. How do we create jobs? How do we line it up with our water resources and other resources that we have here in Tucson? Thinking about the challenges as well. For me as mayor, I usually try and go to a solutions-oriented, right? Hear the challenges and see how do we go to a solution. And how do we partner? We should know we're not alone, and we shouldn't. How do we partner with Pima County? How do we partner with the state? I'm not sure if we can partner with the federal government right now, but then how do we not just survive, but thrive, even in very, very difficult economic times and in very difficult political times in terms of the federal government attacking cities around the country. And so when I was looking at the different places, I was thinking, okay, how do we find a solution that will help us create these opportunities on this paper? And in looking at some of them, I'm like, okay, well, here is a perfect place to talk about how do we create a funding source for this work? And then how do we, with the parks one, with the youth page one, I think that parks belongs there too as well, Councilmember Barajas. And that very particularly, we have partners like Visit Tucson, Pima County should be a partner. And then in this area, in parks, connectivity to parks, bike and ped infrastructure, and also connecting it to arts, history, and culture, because we all know and we've seen the Somos Uno Heritage strategy for Tucson. It leaves our arts, our culture, our history, it leaves us money every year. And so how do we highlight that piece? And how do we create opportunities as well for funding? How do we have a conversation with Pima County? I hear they're thinking about a possible bond election. How do we align our needs? Because of course, we all pay property taxes, right? We all are part of Pima County. So how do we bring the priorities in terms of our parks and connectivity and arts and culture needs to the table so that Pima County can take a look at bonds? And also, the Vice Mayor talked about the parks bond expiring soon, and so us trying to plan ahead. Those don't take money, it's just about lining ourselves up and having conversations with the community about how we fund them. And so MAC and the zoo tax, which is a 10th of a sales tax, that's expiring, I think, in 28. And so how do we line up these conversations and speak with Tucsonans about there are other ways of investing in ourselves to the areas that leave us money, leave us funds, and create a good quality of life. I think, Vice Mayor, you talked about creating destination type of investments, not just for tourists, but also for use of our youth and our community. I really like that, and that's a place where we should explore that, right? A lot of people ask, usually compare us, Tucson to Phoenix, and, they say Phoenix has all these things, right? They have freeways, they have this, they have a, light rail, they have, and they have a transit authority. And I usually say, well, Phoenix chooses to invest in themselves. They have all kinds of dedicated funding sources, from public safety to transit to transportation. They say yes to investing in themselves. And so I think we've got to be able to, yes, think about the budget, but think about how do we supplement in partnership with Pima County and the state and ourselves, how do we supplement the investments that we need to our budget process. So I'm just trying to put it all together from what I've heard you all and trying to find investment solutions as we move forward.
Well, trumping off that, the Prop 407 bond, I can't remember how we structured that debt. Did we retire that debt?
So, Councilmember Cunningham, the Prop 407 is voter-approved bond authorization, so we take out the debt in periodic chunks and then we pay it off under the secondary property tax.
And the tax expires on 2018, does the debt expire?
The 2028.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry.
That's okay. The program ends, but the debt will continue for about 20 years after that. But there's a debt schedule that is paid down over time. So there's kind of two capacities, if you wanted to talk about could that secondary property tax be accessed for future investments. One is the tax rate itself, and the other is how much unused capacity is in there. I can say at this table, there is unused capacity that could be accessed in a voter-approved initiative without increasing the secondary tax rate,
Right now?
right now.
Well, we gotta wait till 28.
You wouldn't necessarily have to wait till 28.
And it could be the secondary, that capacity could be used for parks, for,
Anything that is of a capital need that,
Okay.
Basically if it outlasts the debt.
okay.
So we do, and my CFO is here ready to kick me under the table. But we have typically structured our debt as a 20-year debt, whether that's water revenue obligations or this debt. It is not unusual to consider like a 10-year debt cycle. So for example, when we buy a building or we build this or that, easily can be debt financed. Some of our like bigger apparatus, like in the fire department or things like that, like a ladder truck perhaps could qualify for more like a 10-year debt cycle. Roy didn't kick me.
Well,
Anna didn't kick me.
so I'm just trying to think out loud. I guess we'll go over it a little offline, but I'm trying to figure out loud if the more strategic move is, so let me ask this, the 407 bond, if I remember correctly, that parks bond did that involve an increase that expires on the secondary property?
Councilmember Cunningham, I don't know all of the details of 407 other than I believe it was structured to not drive an ongoing increase to the secondary property tax. So I think it was accessing existing capacity. That capacity frees up as we pay off the debt over time.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have existing capacity, and where it kind of shows up on a different ledger is that we have an annual debt service payment that we make. So that there's money going out that's funded by the secondary property tax. As we pay off the debt, you both create capacity within the existing tax rate that the voters would have to approve us to access, and you have less money going out the door after that full 20 years, right? So there's money going out, and then there's capacity that has to be.
And in 17, did we get a really favorable interest rate?
I would have to check the interest rates, but we've had good interest rates on debt for the last at least decade. Most of our debt is 3%-ish. We've recently been looking at close to 4%.
I just don't want to issue debt on top, I don't want to issue debt at 4 or 5% on top of debt that we're already paying 3% on, you know, like, so I'm just trying to maneuver how that finance would work and really kind of get a realistic understanding of what that capacity would be. I'd also probably want to keep it focused on parks, because that's where we've been
Yeah,
successful.
well, I think that we have to have a separate conversation about, okay, what's next, right? What is next? Is it parks, connections, arts and culture investments? Remember that there are other types of tools that we could use to create additional investments, right? A lot of people ask about property taxes versus sales taxes, and property taxes are more progressive. Are there opportunities to create property tax districts for investments? I'm not sure if those generate a lot of money, but you have to create a district. It's kind of like the ones that you're suggesting with municipal improvement districts, Councilmember Cunningham. I worked with the city of Tucson 20 years ago when we did have municipal improvement districts. And those you need to have the property owners sign into those municipal improvement districts, and people actually pay them through their property taxes, but they pay for those improvement districts. So there are a lot of mechanisms we can talk about, but those are, I think, left for additional conversation, but we should be thinking about. And we should be thinking about how we work with Pima County, because they're already having, at least starting to think about what's next in Pima County bonds. They haven't passed a bond since 2015, I believe it was the last one, so it's been a long time.
So myself and Ward 5, with Ms. Barajas, talked about a couple opportunities, specifically with the Keno site and Mosaic, where, quite frankly, it's out of the city per se, but if it did come into the city, it would most likely be Ward 5. And so I think we're going to try to engage those folks offline and see kind of what kind of opportunities afford there. Look, I've had my doubts about the county on certain things, but if this Mosaic project comes to fruition, to say the way that it's going to come to fruition, it affords us some things that we are losing to Phoenix right now. A lot of I talked about how we have families leaving for Phoenix for the weekend. Mosaic actually is an equalizer for it. And so if we can get the right collaboration with the county to invest in it, then I think that's like one of those partnerships that's just low-hanging fruit. It actually makes sense for us. And I think there's some negotiation that's involved there. But again, I think that's mostly a Ward 5 thing. I don't want to be, stepping over anything.
Well, and these are ideas. We're just sharing
But
ideas in terms of how do we improve.
That curb, the curb and how they harvest that rainwater and all the cool things they do out there are pretty neat things. And it would be pretty awesome if we were working together on that. And that goes back to talking about the multimodal transit opportunity, where if you have an athletic entertainment district like you're supposed to have, and that's kind of what the TIF was set up for, how it connects to downtown will make it, that kind of, you actually actualize the vision there. So I think
Well,
there's some
and
things that-
part of what you said with the Mosaic Quarter is our downtown. And how do we work with Rio Nuevo to make sure that we are continuing to invest in our downtown and look at our infrastructure, right? The TCC, Leo Rich Theater, the music, the Linda Ronstadt Music Hall. How do we continue investing in our downtown so that it continues to grow and flourish and bring those opportunities that we have? Because that's inside the city already. And so how do we make sure that we're partnering? When I talk about partners, Rio Nuevo was a huge partner of investing in our downtown and the entire corridor on Broadway, all the way over to Park Place. So
And
lots to
housing.
do. And
And
housing.
housing is a part of what Rio Nuevo is looking at now in
Yeah.
terms of their investments, which is really exciting because I think it's an important part of economic development.
Yep. And how do we activate those parking lots along the Rio Nuevo route?
Yep.
And reactivate the empty big box stores throughout the route to make sure that we are reinvesting and creating the sales taxes and the jobs that we want to see happen. So lots of good, exciting things that we can continue talking about, but I think that it's good. I think this is a good start. I think we've heard from each other. And we can use the study sessions to expand on all of your ideas. With that, did you get what you needed to get from the exercise we just did, Mr. Manager?
Yes, Mayor, and thank you all for doing that, both the pre-questionnaire and the exercise today. Hopefully you found it somewhat engaging. We definitely found it very informative to us, and it's nice for me to have the whole team hear from you all directly and collectively, because we want both of you to be happy. We want the mayor and council to be happy, and we want the mayor and the council members to be happy. And so that, and we'll, again, incorporate this into the report back that we provide to you all for your, as documentation of the meeting, but also it becomes some guidance for us moving forward.
Did you want to then move to the next item? Because I know that you wanted to talk about
We,
Budget 101.
we can certainly do that, Mayor, if you're ready.
So item 5 is next. You can take off.
City of Tucson Budget 101, overview by City Manager, Mr. Thomure.
Thank you all. Okay, this is the day, now we're gonna do the up-close magic part. So, I was struggling with how do we present the budget in a way that's a little bit different than just the static things on the paper. And so I went through the, different stages of, do I go with the Jenga pile, right? Where I put the Jenga up there and I equate each block to $100 million, which is about what this stack would be. This is our $2.4 billion budget, is like a full set of Jenga. And then I actually pull a piece out, and then the whole thing crashes, and I say, that's what you're doing to me, people. But I thought, no, that's a Kevin Dahl move. So I'm not gonna go there with the classic Jenga. But I will, I did bring it, also, though, I do think when we try to communicate this to the public, for example, Councilmember Barajas, you've asked for us for like a one-pager on the budget. And these are my 2 booklets of the budget, and the binders are even bigger, so.
Magic.
Magic. We're gonna look at maybe doing a quick video where we do use a prop, whether it's Jenga or blocks or Monopoly money, to just try to give an explainer to the general public so they can kind of get a little bit more familiarity with what we're doing. So, for today, I did bring the Monopoly money, and you'll just have to bear with a little demonstration here. And then we'll go into some more detail. So I'm holding in my hands, if every dollar of the Monopoly money was $1 million, this is $2.4 billion. So $100 million, a $100 bill is $100 million. Okay. This is our annual in and out of the city. It's $2.4 billion. Our reserves are this roughly $200 million. So this whole 2.4 billion rides on 200 or 300 million. If we throw in the water fund, you're at 300 million. So your rainy day reserve is roughly 150 million, 140, and 130. And then you do have some one-time dollars that we talk about. You had the framework dollars, you have the investment fund. This started off at about $250, $300 million, and we have spent it. We've invested it. We've put it to work in the community. Now it's down to this. So your ability to manage the risk of this on an annual basis is really just that much money. Okay. So 2.4 billion still sounds like a lot, but most of it's restricted to something, right? Is it this one I'm gonna dollar bill y'all?
No.
Give me the water money.
Okay. There you go, sir. There's your 300 million of the water. Water fees and revenue rates go in. We provide safe, reliable water service.
Federal pass-through.
There's,
Oh,
if we're
why are
gonna-
you giving it all to Paul
Right.
Cunningham? I'm just saying.
I'm giving it to the mayor.
All right. Would you like to run a, environmental services? We have garbage and recycling. There you go. There's.
How much are you giving him?
I gave him 200 million.
Just hit it, too.
Environmental services.
You like housing, so we've got housing, and related, so there's 300 million for the housing.
Is that HUD or what is that?
That's all the stuff.
CDBG, HUD.
All right.
Not CDBG, it's just,
Some of you were talking about like road safety, so you got a little Prop 411 there and other things for you. You got a little HERF action. That's what we do with all of our roads, some RTA in there. Let's see, well, all your stuff's in the general fund.
I'll take the big stuff.
No, it's not very big. Let's just say you've got some additional access to federal dollars. We've got other propositions like 407. We've got other things we do. And then I'm gonna hand you the remaining $200 million.
I'll stole the best.
Hey, wait, what about making change? We got TCC and the golf fund?
That's all in the general fund.
Okay.
Why'd you leave your stash?
I know, I should have never left my stash unattended. So, you're paying for most of the housing, your roads that we're investing, your ES, your water, and we've got the voter approved propositions. Now, I'm holding what looks like $800 million. That's our general fund. Except, we had the state flat tax, income tax. We've had reductions in our economy, a slowdown that has resulted in reductions in our sales tax revenues from the state and from local. So there's $50 million I'm just gonna set aside there. So now I've got $750 million. This is what you have to work with, really, at the end of the day, in order to do all the other things. Now, that doesn't mean we can't use the road dollars differently, to do it smarter, to do it better, do it more efficiently. We can use some of the housing dollars differently to keep people housed and things of that nature. I'm not being dismissive of any of that. We also know that an enterprise fund like the water utility might be able to fund water efficiency in our other operations, right? Irrigation efficiencies. We accessed state conservation fund to do efficient fixtures and water savings in our publicly owned housing stock. So we're creative as anybody could be. But we got $750 million to work with. I think the thing that I want to leave you with today is $550 million of that. Roughly. It's 530, but we're going to call it 550. That's people. That's our people. That's people in the general fund.
That's staff.
That is staff, their benefits, their pensions, their ability to do the work of this community. This includes our firefighters, our police officers, our community safety, health, and wellness folks, our parks and recreation workers. This is people. So when we reprioritize and we're working within a fixed amount of dollars, we're either moving people from what they're doing now to what they're gonna do in the future, bless you, which can be done, and we do that, but there's also challenges with that. It's taking people who are trained to do one thing, asking them to do something else. Or, we need more of the people doing the something else, we need less of the people doing the things that they've been doing. The tool we use on that is we can do hiring freezes, we can do hiring frosts, we can do changes in our force, changing the number of people we have. What's also though in here is our compensation for our employees. So you could go to the Bank of Cunningham and take the 50 and pull 14 million out of it. That's what our headed to be proposed compensation adjustments for next year. So you have those choices, but that's all moving people around, what you pay them and how many we have. And then this is the money you have for stuff and things, is $200 million roughly.
And that doesn't include fuel, that includes fuel, tools,
Fleet replacement.
computers,
All of
subscriptions to
you.
IT.
All of us comes out of this. So that is my budget demonstration, Budget 101 for today. And then I'll give you an update on where we're at. So there is hope as we move toward the really tough decisions ahead. So when we met with you on, when the heck was that? Was that the 18th? Okay, last Wednesday, we had presented to you this 3-year financial plan, which will become a 5-year financial plan, because the outer years are just scarier, but that's good. We showed you that we had about a $27 million operating deficit for the year we're in, and looking ahead, about a $64 million operating deficit for the year ahead, and that we were gonna run out of money. And by run out of money, we still have our little pile of reserve back there. We've done some of the initial work, and when we get to the meeting of the 17th of March, the 17th of March study session will give you an updated view of the world, which will go the full 5 years. And that's when the tougher work begins. Our $27 million for this fiscal year, we've been able to bring that down, I'm gonna say 17 million, down to about 17 million. Now that's not structural changes, that's one-time spending, but what it does is preserve more cash in the bank. So now we're chasing 17 million for the year we're in, not 27. For next year, the 64 has become 36. So that's all if you accept our first round of recommendations, which you haven't seen yet. But that $36 million deficit, we feel we can stand behind and say, these are changes that will be to the benefit, and not that they're easy, but they're easier than some of the things that are ahead. So what that also does is when you take the credit for the roughly $10 million decrease for this year and the roughly, 20 years, so you start to look like next year we might, the running out of money piece starts to get closer to zero. We need it to get to not just zero, we need it to be positive, because we've already written checks against future years for promises made to the community. So the real rolling up the sleeves begins on the 17th. What helps us get to the 17th is you're gonna get a benefits recommendation for employees that is still very employee-centric, very much in alignment with what we've done the past few years, and it saves us several $1 million in the general fund. Like we did just recently where we recommended not doing the pay ahead on the public safety pension, we recommend doing the basic pay everything we're supposed to pay per the schedule, but don't put extra into the trust. That saves you money. And then we did a hard scrub of the unmet needs of the directors, and we're gonna show you everything they asked for, and then everything we're saying, okay, let's give it a tentative, put it in the base. Those are the three things that the work in 26 plus the work in 27 is what gets you to the 36. But we're still, now, it's a $36 million adjustment to the budget.
Yeah, go ahead.
Tim, are we gonna get the opportunity to see the one-time spending that's not gonna happen, kind of line items, so that we're aware that this is how we got to this number, and we're not gonna do whatever this thing is, because this
Correct.
thing may be important to one of us, and we just might wanna know.
You will, and so just for clarity, the FY 26 one-time spending was the 7.6 million for the PSP RSP ahead, and I know you had some concern over the 1.5. That was around the open drug use. The reality is, at where we are in February, no matter what happens the rest of this fiscal year, we wouldn't, even if we said, let's go full bore on something new, which we haven't quite yet, that wouldn't occur in this fiscal year. So it becomes now a savings in 26 that we have to solve in 27.
Okay, not to go off on a tangent, but just the idea of expanding the pilot hours from 2 hours a day to a full day is not anything we can realistically accomplish before July 1st.
I'm gonna defer to Liz Morales about the status of community court.
And, thank you, Mr. Manager. You are talking about community court and not VATJ.
What I'm talking about is the pilot that we're doing in ODE, where our officers can put somebody from their vehicle in front of a judge for
Yes.
initial appearance. And they have 2 hours a day, and the hours change from day to day, so it makes it really difficult to
Yeah.
utilize that.
Yes. So I think we can continue to explore how to expand that. I don't know that we need to add an additional judge at this point. It's just how to use the staff time of the judges And it's not just the judges, but there's the
Their staffs.
admins and teams. So I think we can continue to look at how to do that, and then decide if there's any funding needed for that, but I think we can do it within the existing budget on how to
Perfect.
keep expanding.
Okay, music to my ears. I just want to
Mhm,
accomplish the
expanding it.
objective and hopefully not cost us a lot of money.
And to just be a little more explicit on it, if I could go a little bit. 2 years ago, we put into the budget a judge pro tem. So whenever we hire a judge, and we have a certain number of judges that we hire, they get a 4-year term. But 2 years ago, you approved a code revision that allow us to hire a pro tem judge, which is now on a 2-year cycle. So we added a pro tem judge, and we're funding it fiscal year by fiscal year. So we did in this, when I'm saying in, like the recommended so far, year 2 of that pro tem judge is in. What we would be looking at is if there was a need for an additional judge, we would be bringing forward another pro tem judge.
Gotcha.
And then, I'm not gonna say buying judges, because we're not really buying the judges, but funding the position of a
Yeah.
judge, you can now do in 2-year increments.
Gotcha.
But it's a pro tem versus, the full-time.
I think my piece was just making sure we know what specifically is not gonna happen as we
Yeah.
come back to a balanced budget.
That's correct. We will give you the whole ins and outs. And then also for those unmet needs, we'll show you what the directors asked for, the full 27 million plus. And we're roughly at 9 million, 5 million ongoing and 4 million one time. That will show you currently in the numbers when you see them on the 17th. And I'll also note that, and I'm getting in the weeds here, so just pull me back out when you're ready. The fact that you established last year a general fund, capital fund for the first time in living memory, and then we're seeding that with another, right now, $8 million this year, unless it gets cut, right? A lot of the unmet needs that the directors are used to saying, I have to ask for this unmet need every year, become funded under the general fund, capital fund. So it's a tool that will make, as we build that up, give us the ability so that those two little $200 million becomes 250 at some point. And actually, we have the money to do certain things that currently we just have to go to the voters every time.
Any other questions or comments, observations?
Kind of sad we didn't do Jenga.
Next time.
Is that
We could do the Loteria. The
So
Planet
that-
Loteria.
So that 36 is 26, is 28 if we did no one-time spending.
That's 27. Oh.
27.
Oh.
The
you mean-
$36 million deficit is 28 if we did no one-time unmet need stuff.
The amount of currently one-time and planning in the 27 is an additional $47 million.
So there's, all right, so we have 47 that we're not spending or spending in 27.
47 that we're spending,
That is one time,
that is one time.
out of the GF,
Correct.
including reserves.
All of this excludes reserves.
Excludes.
Except the 36, reserves would have to cover the 36.
If we did not balance the budget, which I don't think we can legally do, the reserves would have to cover the 36.
But on all ongoing money, see, but, okay, so for all ongoing money, it sounds like for what we know we have to put into 28, we have 11 extra for 27.
No. If we budget 27, as I described, with the 36 million, and somehow we just painted that with reserve, we're showing a negative $67 million
In 28.
going into a budget year that also has a structural deficit.
Okay, we can't do that.
That's correct.
And in fairness to everyone that is not seeing what you're seeing, I think that it would be best if we continue the conversation in terms of the numbers and how to get to where we need to get
Correct.
another day. But did you want to add anything else to the Budget 101 or any of your assistant city managers?
The thing I'll add is, on the 3rd,
Mm-hmm.
you'll see the benefits recommendation. The Benefits Committee has made their recommendation to me. I am preparing my recommendation to you. Actually, that will come out later this week as part of agenda materials. You could act on it on the 3rd, or you could act on it on the 17th. Depends on your level of comfort with what we recommend. I need it by the 17th so we can do open enrollment in May.
Ah, okay.
I think you'll be pleased with what is coming forward, because we ran the RFP for health benefits and because we are experiencing significant savings. Then that allows us to preserve quite a bit of all the plan design, except on the network. We are recommending a lot on the network, and it preserves the employees from having to absorb significant premium increases. The HSA basically would be no increase.
Okay. Excellent.
And then we'll keep working work it with you. So you're still a month and a half, almost 2 months from my recommended budget. So we've still got, what, 2 months? And a pile of Monopoly money? Did any of you want to add anything? Okay. That's
Good.
what we have.
All righty. Any questions from my colleagues? All righty, so we move on to item 6.
It's a summary of discussion by the mayor.
I mean, I thank you all, first and foremost, for your time. I know that you're super busy. You have lots of work to do in your district and also on a personal level, so I really appreciate you all making time for this. I hope that you found it productive, and what I've asked the city manager to do is to prepare a report on the input. I think it's a good idea for all of us to share our questionnaire responses. So we're gonna provide a memo kind of discussing a summary of our discussion in writing, and then we're going to also share the questionnaire responses for all of your offices so you can see and you can compare. And, you know, I think that it could create some additional partnerships amongst all of us to bring to the table as a study session item. I think that really it's about bringing to the table continued ideas about how do we continue improving and moving forward as a city. Again, like I said at the beginning, we have done a lot of amazing work. And I think one of the most important issues that we need to, or challenges that we have in front of us that we need to work on as an organization is how do we inform the community of all the work that we are doing. I want to pull my hair out when people tell me, like, the city's not doing anything about unsheltered homelessness, or the city's not doing anything about, you know, transit safety. Those are things that we're investing a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of resources in human resources. And so I think one of the biggest challenges that we really have to tackle that might not cost any money is how do we inform the community of the work we're doing already? That transparency and information sharing with the community sets all of us up to be in a good place. So for me, I just wanted to thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your continued partnership. I truly, truly, truly do say how lucky I am when I'm especially around mayors throughout the country on what a good partnership I have with my council colleagues. Some mayors do not enjoy this, willingness to work with each other and people that are on the same page. We might not be 100% always in agreement, but that's okay. We always are respectful with each other. We're always, teaching each other new things. And so I'm excited about all the input that you gave me and the city manager, and looking forward to our continued work as we enter a really hard budget season. And hopefully we will make sure that we inform the community of what is possible. This Budget 101, I think you should take this show on the road, Mr. Manager, to explain to the community about really what type of money we have available through the general fund. We also have to make sure that we are looking out for how the federal government or the state government is affecting our budgets, are affecting, our ability to govern based on what the community wants us to do. Because there are some crazy bills coming out of the state legislature that could highly affect how we do business in the city of Tucson, even how we conduct elections in the city of Tucson. So we'll be on the lookout for that. And what the federal government also is doing, because any cuts in our community development block grant, in our housing and urban development money, any changes or cuts to that could worsen unsheltered homelessness, mental behavioral health people that need help, that are on our streets. So I'm staying hopeful. And I thank you all for coming together. I see a recurring themes, right, that you all talked about: economic development and doing it right with our resources in mind, investments in our roads and infrastructure, parks investments, resilience, right, neighborhood resilience and investments there, but also climate resiliency and continued investment in, in our sustainability as a city. So thank you. I'm looking forward to this year with you all and looking forward for additional work. I want to share little cards that were done.
She did. It was amazing.
Oh, the year. That it was really kind of Charlene's mom to put together for us. So she spent a little bit of time putting them together. It's cards that say "Together is better."
Oh,
So I'll hand some over there, 3 over there, and 3 over here. Please choose yours. Thank you so much for making time. Really appreciate you all.
Certainly, thanks to your mom.
Mayor, are we adjourned?
The Honorable George Cunningham. We got the physical copies here, and I wanted to make sure that I made them available for you. Can I read it?
Yeah.
Okay. So, State of Arizona House of
Toby,
Representatives.
Can I tell everybody?
Yes.
So this happened at the Capitol and the state, and the State House and Senate stood concurrently for a moment of silence for my head. So this is what they read.
And they are 4 copies for your family. So, State of Arizona House of Representatives, 57th Legislature, 2nd Regular Session 2026. House Concurrent Resolution 2060, a concurrent resolution on the death of the Honorable George Cunningham. The Honorable George Cunningham, dedicated former lawmaker and University of Arizona Vice President, passed away on May 6, 2025 at the age of 80. Born in 1945 in Nashua, New Hampshire, George was raised as a Boston Red Sox and Celtics fan. At 11 years of age, George and his family moved to Tucson. He attended Catalina High School, where he served as senior class president and ran cross country. He graduated from the University of Arizona, where he met the love of his life, Marjorie. They married in 1969 and remained in Tucson. George Cunningham created a legacy of diligence and purpose, beginning his work in public service early. George was an Army reservist and an assistant city manager of South Tucson while attending graduate school at the University of Arizona. He later worked for the Arizona State Senate, where he served as special assistant to the Senate president. He went on to serve his beloved University of Arizona, working in various administrative and financial capacities, including Vice President for Administrative Services, Associate Vice President, and Director of Planning and Budgeting. As Vice President, he managed various aspects of the learning environment, such as managing residential life and ensuring that the roads on campus were paved. In 1988, George became the Chief of Staff for Governor Rose Mofford. He returned to the University of Arizona from 1990 to 1993 and helped form an international partnership with the Italian government to build the world's largest and most powerful telescope. He also worked on special assignments for the university's president on economic development initiatives. After his years of service there, he decided to run for office. In 1993, he became a member of the Arizona House of Representatives, where he served in Democratic leadership. And in 1997, he moved to, the Arizona State Senate, where he served until 2001. Throughout his legislative service, George focused on fiscal policy, economic expansion, and investing in Arizona's future. He was recognized by his legislative colleagues and business, labor, and community leaders as an effective and knowledgeable legislator who worked to build bipartisan coalitions. Continuing his service to the people of Arizona, George Cunningham served as Governor Janet Napolitano's budget director in her 2 terms. During that time, he also co-founded the Grand Canyon Institute, a nonpartisan think tank that provides fact-based research and education to lawmakers and the public on policies that affect the economic, social, and fiscal future of the state. Known to have a great sense of humor and compassionate nature, George was a committed public servant to the public of Arizona and his hometown of Tucson. He often erased partisan lines for the benefit of his constituents. A natural-born leader, George was a trusted advisor to generations of elected officials. He loved restoring old cars with his many friends, traveling with his wife, and spending time with his grandchildren. After retirement, George also used his time and energy to volunteer for multiple committees dedicated to improving the quality of life for all Arizonans. A loving husband, father, and grandfather, George Cunningham is survived by his wife of 55 years, Marjorie, his children Paul Cunningham and Elisa, Evie Cunningham Schvidler and Joe, Molly Carey and Joe, and his grandchildren Joe, Kyle, Ben, Sophia, Alex, Lude, Brady, Lily, and Susie. Therefore, be it resolved by the House of Representatives of the State of Arizona, the Senate concurring, that the members of the legislature express sincere regret at the passing of the Honorable George Cunningham and extend their deepest condolences to his surviving family members. Congratulations. Thank you, and I think thank you so much, Tim, for handing me this. I appreciate it, and this is for the family. With that, I think item 7 is adjournment. Council will stand adjourned. The next regularly scheduled meeting will be on Tuesday, March 3rd, at or after 5:30 p.m. Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate you.
Tim, I have your $200 million here.